Welcome to Vancouver Business Network, where entrepreneurs learn, network, and grow. I am Roger Killen, the organizer. Our weekly workshop for entrepreneurs is brought to you by TELUS Business, the fastest and most reliable pure fiber broadband network in Metro Vancouver. Our speaker this evening is Michael Stone. As a teacher, corporate consultant, journalist, and radio host, Michael teaches people how to remove the barriers to living a life of love, contribution, and service. He has been teaching and leading teleseminars and transformational workshops for over 40 years. Vancouver Business Network and members, and most welcome guests, I invite you now to put your hands together and give Michael a warm VBN welcome.
Thank you. Oh, so lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me. You guys are awesome. I love VBN. It's it's wonderful to be with you. So the title of the talk that I'm giving is How to Do More with Less. By the way, I should tell you, I don't do PowerPoint, not only because I'm a technological immigrant, but because I'm really here to be with you. And from my experience, when I have that, people want to take notes and write down. So really the opportunity tonight is to be with me with this subject so we can really dive into it and have an experience instead of some information on a piece of paper that we might put in a drawer and then throw out. So please feel free anytime during my talk tonight. If you have something to say, raise your hand. I'm already 73 and distracted, so it won't distract me. We'll just take that thread and go with it. So that's how I do things. So looking at where does the time go? How do we do more with less? So what do you think the reasons are that we don't have enough time? Because there's 24 hours in the day, right? Everybody has 24 hours in the day. No more or no less. Some people are amazingly productive. Other people have trouble getting out of bed. So what do you think the reason is that we have a loss of time in our life? Yeah.
Lack of focus.
Lack of focus. Great. Okay. What else? Yeah, Sarah? Overstimulation, like media. Yep. Reed. Or Mike, I'm sorry.
I'd say almost more like lack of awareness in how you formulate time. Some people say having something an hour, and until they get to that point, they will think it's an achievement off their mind, being aware that whole hour until they get there.
Yeah.
They want to be focused. In reality, they're less.
Not focused and not planning, and it's a lot to repeat to the microphone. So I'll just leave it at that. Sorry. Matthew.
Some people don't know what they really want.
Yeah. Often that's true. The number one time waster, though, in the universe, not just here but everywhere, is stress. We use an enormous amount of our time being stressed, not being focused. And that's the area that I really want to talk about so that you're left with more time, that you really look at it. So the thing is that stress, what does that mean? When I say I'm stressed, I'm so, it's like a badge of honor. How are you? Oh, I'm so busy. Oh, I'm so busy too. I'm doing even more than you. No, I'm doing more than you. And we get into this like, who's the busiest? Do you ever have that with your friends? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. It's like, and that means I'm somehow better because I'm really, my calendar is so full. I have no time or anything. But what is stress? We use this word like we actually know what it means. Yeah.
Well, it's this feeling that weird, like it's something that's unmotivated.
Something that's unmotivated. Yeah. What else is stress? Let's have some other. What do you think stress is? Yeah, Mike.
I'd actually say a lot of stress is linked to unawareness.
Unawareness. Okay.
What you need to gain wise the time frame.
Right. Yeah. Matthew.
Forgetting to have fun.
Forgetting to have fun. That's a big one. Yeah, absolutely. We take ourselves terminally seriously. Yes, Marielle?
Tightness in my chest and my throat.
Yeah. Joy?
Getting overwhelmed.
Getting.
By all the various
Overwhelmed by so many possibilities, right? Okay.
Huge, big to-do. Sorry.
Big to-do list. Okay. What else? An emotional reaction, right? Yeah. Sumi? You mean? Thinking of negative things. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
The inability to attribute the proper importance to tasks
Yeah.
in relation to
Yeah.
the amount of time.
Not able to look at what task is most important and focus on that. Right. Right. Sarah? False perception of reality. Yeah. Okay. So let's take apart, look at what we really mean by stress. So stress is a phantom word. It really doesn't say anything. It's like, I'm sick. What does that actually say? I have cancer, or I have a sore throat, or I'm in love, another word that obfuscates. I'm in love with my new Ferrari. I'm in love with my wife, and I really love potatoes. It doesn't really say anything. There's no precision in it. So when we look at stress, what we're really saying behind that is something is too much. Something is too much, right? Well, what is too much? Now we start to get some access at the possibility of actually having stress become a portal or a doorway for our own growth, for our own evolvement. So stress is such an important aspect of our lives if we're committed to growth, if we're committed to actually expanding, evolving ourselves in life. We really should embrace stress and find out, well, what is it that's too much? What is it that's too much in your life? Just give me a couple things that's too much in your life. Too much emails, right? Too
many friends and people in my life.
Too many friends to keep up with. That's great. Some people won't want to meet you right away. You'll have more friends now. What else? Too many applicants for something, right? Too many people, too many things to do at work, right? Yeah, Mike. Too many expectations, not just customers, but yeah. What else? Too many details, yeah. Yeah.
Isn't it's not just too much of something as well, isn't it? As much as the absence of something, that you can be, you may be stressed about having too many friends. I may be stressed that I don't have any friends.
Sure, it's the too much that fills the space, though, that doesn't allow for the spacious, because that's exactly what we're going to think of. So look at when we talk about stress, it's a lack of capacity to meet the personal and professional commitments that we've made. So the issue really we're talking about is, how do I get more capacity? How do I expand my mental, my physical, and my emotional capacity? So that's why I have meditated for the last 50 years, is to find ways to expand my capacity, my experience of my clarity of mind, my emotional clarity. These are the issues that we're talking about. Now, from a time in a financial, if you look at stress, I was looking up some statistics. For business in the US, the American Psychological Association says that stress cost businesses over $500 billion a year in the US. In Canada, I couldn't find as many statistics, but in Canada, 30+% of the people that were polled in this national poll said that in the last week, they were either, when the poll was done, in the last week, they were either highly stressed or extremely stressed. That's a third of the population. How many people in here feel stressed from time to time, like in the last week? Yeah, a lot of us. Okay. So how do we get beneath this? What is it that keeps us trapped in this kind of cycle? So it has to do with who we consider ourselves to be, right? Our identity, our ego. So we feel like, well, I'm me, I'm who I am. We have this identity that we have, and it seems inflexible. But our identity, as Joseph said earlier, comes in a very early age. The first, he said, first 6, 7 years, wherever that is, our ancestral hand-me-downs come into play. Our experiences in our family, our cultural experiences, our social status, all of these things begin to form this thing that we call our identity. I call it our I-hood. And so we really think that's who we are. But it's like, you know, I have a hand, right? Am I my hand? I'm not my hand, nor am I my identity. But we feel really stuck in that. So these experiences shape our perception. Our perception shapes our beliefs. And our belief gives us our worldview. And our worldview, how we see the world, shapes our actions, right? Does that make sense? So we're in this thing called our identity, which we think is real. And we have these areas, things that happen to us early on in our life. For instance, we have traumas that happen. And it doesn't matter if it's a big trauma or a little trauma. We have traumas that happen. Someone could yell at you. You know, if you really do the work that I'm going to be talking about tonight, and through meditation and really challenging your own identity. Because when we meditate, and a lot of what I talk about and teach is meditation. There are many different kinds. I teach dancing, moving meditation, sitting meditation, different types of meditation that I work with. But they all go to the same place, that we want to have focused attention. That's one of the key issues that we want. We want to be able to focus our attention. So we find that our mind is like a wild stallion sometimes. And you really get that when you sit and meditate. You begin to see, oh my God, there's popcorn going on. And so that's the first thing, focused awareness. Then focused attention. Then the second thing is open awareness. We want to cultivate open awareness. These are ways that we increase our capacity. When we do that, we are able to watch the show, you know, the thoughts that come up, but we realize we're not that. We begin to separate ourselves from the thoughts and become the observer. Oh, wait, if I'm the observer, then what am I observing? Who is that identity that I call me, my I-hood? If I'm observing it and I'm it, well, am I two people? Am I schizophrenic? What am, you know, how does that happen? So those are the first two aspects. And the third aspect is really being able to cultivate loving kindness, to be able to actually learn to love whatever is arising. Because there's this I spent years studying Gestalt, and I use it in organizational development, which is my profession. There's this feeling that people have, not just in organizations, that something is wrong. Something is wrong with me, and I need to fix it. Something's wrong with you, and you need to fix it. Something's wrong with the world, and it needs to get fixed. And we live inside of this paradigm, something is wrong, and I need to fix that. Well, there's a thing called the Gestalt, forgot what we call it actually, paradoxical theory of change. That's what it is. Gestalt paradoxical theory of change. And that's a beautiful model, because it says that change doesn't occur by trying to change who we are. It occurs by actually embracing who we are, which creates the conditions to change to happen. So the more I try to change something, what happens? What if you lived outside of time and all there was the present, right now, here? If you were only here in the present and you were trying to change something, what would you be saying? I'm just stuck with this affliction, but I'm going to try really, really hard to change it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this course. I'm going to go do that. I'm going to learn this. And what we do, the more we do that, the more we change. And the more we stay stuck, and the more we can embrace that, the more we create conditions for change by allowing things to be the way they are. Can you love yourself? Can you love your need to feel, you know, all the stories we tell are, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, money is scarce, good men are hard to find. Whatever your stories are, they're all part of this identity story, which keeps you on this spin of not being able to be present and therefore not being able to build our capacity. And it doesn't matter how much challenge you had in the beginning, we all have these parts of us that have been dissociated, pushed down because, or suppressed, because at the time, let's say you were 4 years old and your father yelled at you and you decided, I'm not going to speak, I'm not going to open my mouth ever again, right? Or, you know, something terrible happens. You get molested, or you have some trauma that happens to you. I'm never going to trust men. I'm never going to allow that to happen to me again. And we form an entire identity around that. And we have strengths that come from that because we work really hard. So nobody knows what a lazy bum we are because we were called a lazy bum. Or we get really smart, we get 10 PhDs, so people will say, oh, you're really smart, but all the time we still think we're really dumb, right? But we're trying to compensate for all those things. So those things that happened to us early on have left these huge marks on us. And they're our gift. They're our gift. The healing is in the wound. In embracing the wound. The wound is actually the gift. I'm going to tell you something really personal. So I was born, my parents were both at Pearl Harbor. And my father was a fighter pilot and my mother was in the Women's Air Force, right? And imagine being there at a time when the skies were black with planes and bombs running down. That's going to have an impact, right? On you. So both my parents, what they would call it now, would have PTSD. So when I came along in this, born into the war, born into literally war territory, my father just numbed himself with alcohol, and my mother had the worst postpartum you could possibly imagine. My childhood, the first 2.5 years was she was tried to kill me numerous times, would put a pillow over my face, and my father and other people would have to take a knife from her when she would get out of hand. So she was in therapy for the first 2.5 years of my life. And then at 2.5, I found her hanging from the light fixture. She'd committed suicide. I don't tell you that like, oh, you know, I'm telling you that because that is the gift that I have. That was my gift. That was what set me off. Now, did it happen right away? No, I did drugs. I did alcohol. I stole cars. I was a crazy, wild person in the 60s. You know, my daughter's laughing. She's here tonight. Yeah. But it took many, many years of sitting on a cushion, of really working with the shadow material to get that this gift allowed me to have a sense of purpose, to understand. I talked the other day to, I did a talk with postpartum mothers, you know, because it's really something that I care about. And you know, I want to see children come into the world that are healthy, that are well. So when we're working with this material, we have to begin to learn to really love that. And that's the challenge for the identity. Because what do you think the purpose of the identity is?
Protect us.
It originally was to protect us, but what do you think its purpose is now?
Survival.
Yeah, there's one purpose of the identity, its own survival. That is the entire purpose of the identity. So here you go and you sit on a cushion and the wild stallions are coming and you're feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I can't do this. This is too hard. All these stories. Oh, yeah, that's the opening. You actually have to love that, to embrace those things, to open to them. And then you start to have a relationship. Now, to go back to the identity, I'm sitting on the cushion and I'm having all these thoughts going on, crazy thoughts coming up, and oh, I can't do this. You know, I sit 90 minutes every day. I still have wild stallions constantly. But you have that part that I was saying before is, but wait a minute, who's watching the show? Who is watching all of this going on? If it's not me, then who am I? Well, I'm the space, the soul space that all of that occurs in. Those are just the clouds. I'm the sky. And I can find that out as I adapt myself and love what's arising and allow it to be. If I push it away, what if we're together and I'm pushing you like this, and I'm going like this, and you're over there and you're pushing me back? How far do we get? You might be bigger and knock me over, but we're just in the same dance. Just like trying to change all these things that we think are wrong. There's nothing wrong with us. We were born whole and complete. A friend of mine was saying the other day, you know, you don't go into the baby parlor. What do they call it? Where they have all the babies lined up in the hospital. What do they call that? The baby parlor. Okay. In the baby parlor, and you go, okay, that one's going to be a hardened criminal. I can tell. Oh, this one's going to be a rapist. This guy's going to be a millionaire. Oh, this little girl is going to be a hooker. You know, that is not how it starts out. Does it? No. You've got innocence, you've got wholeness, you've got beauty. So you've got this, you know, the essence. We're essentially good. If you can actually just look and see how you resist that when I say that. You are essentially good. What arises?
No, I'm not.
Yeah. No, I'm not. Or, but, yeah, I'm okay, but what? But my mother dropped me on my head. But my brother stole my, you know, toys. That, you know, but my sister played with me. But, you know, I'm incapable. I'm not enough. And this prison, this is a prison. The prison of our own story. It's just a story. It's just a story. Well, what do we do if it's just a story? We start to deconstruct the story, and we recognize the witness and the story, and we start to meditate, and we start to sit, and we see, oh, there's really not that many stories when you look at it. When you write it down, it's like, I have a story that I'm unlovable. Oh, there it is again, and again, and again. Oh, every relationship, I feel unlovable. Oh, there it is again. Yeah, that's your doorway. Can you embrace that fear of being unlovable? Not enough. So we do that work and we begin to deconstruct the identity by breaking it down and looking at the patterns. Because what we are is energy. We're patterns. We're rhythms. So you find the rhythms and you begin to take them apart and you say, is this a rhythm that actually serves me anymore? It might have served me really well when I was 5 and my father yelled at me. But I'm 40. Does it still serve me to act the same way and shrink back from life because I'm afraid of being yelled at? Does that make any sense at all? These are just patterns. They're just rhythms. They're waves of energy. And if you can take that energy, like what I've been able to do with the loss of my mother and a lot more, I only told you a little piece of the early story. If you look at that, the power and the energy that's available by recognizing that as our gift and no longer being a victim. Until I was, that the victim thing went from 20s to 40s, I was a victim. And then I went, wait a minute, I'm living in the past. It's not actually even the past. It's the remembered past. Somebody else could have been my brother or sister if I'd have had one there, and they would have a totally different story. No, that's not what happened. So we live in the remembered past for the most of the time, or the imagined future. What does that mean? If we live in the remembered past and the imagined future, what does that actually mean?
We're not living in the present.
We're not present very much. In fact, we're absent most of the time. Presence is always here. Mostly we're not. Mostly we're not present. Hence, meditation, mindfulness, doing the inner exploration. Not from I have to fix something because you're whole and complete. Not that I have to change anything because you are absolutely perfectly, And by the way, this thing of belonging, how many people in here have this sense sometimes, I don't feel like I belong. Anybody? Am I the only one? Once it comes up once in a while? Yeah. When we really tell the truth, there's this thing about belonging. Now, how can you not belong? You're here in a body. How could you possibly not belong? You're here. You're in a body. This is your sender and your receiver. How could you not belong? But we have this story about not belonging. Another story that's killing the planet and the heart of all suffering is a complete lie, and that is that I'm separate. I'm separate from my body. I'm separate from you. I'm separate from my community. I'm certainly separate than those other people over there that are threatening to bomb us. I'm separate. And that's at the heart of all of our suffering. When we meditate, when we actually take the time to sit and be with ourselves in a loving way, with focused attention and open awareness, those three things are three of the keys to being powerful in your meditation. Then we begin to see this for the story it is. And we can deconstruct that story then, find those patterns, and actually begin to integrate new patterns, build new neural pathways by changing what comes out of our mouth, because much of the world that we live in, all of the world that we live in individually is the story that comes out of our mouth. Do you know that? You think there's a world out there? No, the world out there is the one that you speak into existence, and then we act as though it's true. And you have no access because it's all out there. But what if it's actually how we hold the world, our worldview? And we start to deconstruct that worldview, and we see those patterns, and we look at them for what they are. They're a certain vibration, a certain rhythm, a certain wave of energy, and we take that energy like from a trauma early on, and we shift that energy into stepping into our soul's purpose, because those things that happen are the identifier of your soul's path, what you came here for. I came here to honor the divine feminine in myself and others. It's really clear to me. Only took me about 60 some years to figure that out, but it's clear. It's clear. Now, then you embody that. You match the emotions and the feelings that go along with that. And you change your thinking. You do a future kind of thinking, and you bring yourself back, and you begin to integrate it and embody a new way of being in the world. There's only one problem. It's you. It's the community. I've already registered you in my program. I'm a victim and a troublemaker. It's just like if you're a user and you go into rehab of any kind of use, what's the first thing that your counselor will say? You're 90 days clean and sober, right? You're out on the street. What's your counselor going to tell you? What?
Up to you?
No. It's not up to you. No. Get rid of your friends or transform them. you go back into a using environment, 48 hours, you'll be shooting up again. Absolutely. And the same thing when you go to change a pattern that's living you, you don't live it, it's living you into the world. And when you change that pattern, you have to then change your environment. You either have to, with your mouth and with your words, create a transformation in the listening of someone else so that they see you in that new way of being, or get rid of them. Now that's kind of hard sometimes if it's your mother, you know, or someone close to you, but that's the work then. That constant, that they then will present an opportunity for you in the face of them seeing you differently will be someone different. And you share authentically and share your, you know, all the things that are coming up, and either they'll shift or not, but you're shifting because you're using their picture of you, how you fit into their worldview. They don't want to, you know, just like your identity doesn't want you to change, your environment does not want you to change because you've already talked them into who you are. You taught them. So this is a challenging, you know, prospect. There's a great story that Suzuki Roshi wrote in one of his books, and he was talking about this Zen master from the 19th century, and he was in Japan, and this professor came to visit him because he wanted to know about Zen. He wanted to tell me about Zen, and the Zen master graciously invited him in for tea, and the professor sits down, and the Zen master takes the cup and he starts to pour the tea, and the cup's getting fuller and fuller, and the professor's watching, and it's all the way up to the top, and the professor's getting a little nervous. It's over his leg, you know, and he kind of moves, and he keeps pouring, and pretty soon it's running out into the saucer, and just before it hits the floor, the professor says, "Stop! Can't you see the cup is filled? It's full. Can't you see that?" And the Zen master said, "Yes, that's true. Exactly. And how can I teach you Zen when you won't let go of your opinions, your ideas, all your questions? You need to empty your cup before you can actually get what Zen is." And meditation is like that. It's really, we need to empty our cup to be able to actually work with. Now, what are we working with again? We're working with the physical, the emotional, and the mental aspects of ourself that are constricted, are tight. You know, like sometimes my head gets tight, or my body gets really tight, or my emotions get tight. Now, one of the problems with this particular time that we're in is we're being bombarded by fear, by climate change, by social unrest, by social inequality. All of these things are happening. So in the field of humanity right now, there's immense fear, immense stress, and immense suppression, right? There's trauma in the field because so many things haven't been dealt with. Slavery, Native American population, genocide, all of these things are in the field that we exist in. Remember I told you we need to change the field in order to really fully change? But every time we make a change, which is really interesting, I also teach shamanism. It's another little thing I do, but so we do a lot of ancestor work. And what happens, many of these patterns are handed down through many generations that you're living in right now. When you heal those patterns by allowing them to be an opening to something larger, you heal not only your entire ancestral lineage, but you heal future descendants. So this work that we do is not for ourselves, it's for humanity. It's what's being called forth right now is the evolution of humanity itself. And it's being called forth from so many different directions. All the things that are happening that we tend to be really negative about, you know, the Trump stuff, you know, all the right wing, you know, rising, the separation, the guns, the wars, the killings, the suicide, all of that stuff that's happening right now, is all of that, the prejudice, the huge, you know, prejudice that's in the world right now, it's all coming up for us to deal with it. How will we be in the face of separation? Who will we be in the face of separation? Because it is a myth, it is a story, and it is going to kill all of humanity if we don't wake up. How do we wake up? We sit on the cushion. But I have to act. No, we sit on the cushion first. We allow all of that to arise. We embrace it. We honor it. We allow it to be. We love it. We love our, Thich Nhat Hanh used to say, I love my little anger. I love my little anger. He's such a sweet, beautiful man. You know, just, can you love all of that stuff that you're trying to push away, that you're not willing to honor? You're not willing to see that there's a huge, huge, huge gift in it. Your wound is your gift. So here we are. We're committed to really expanding ourselves. What happens? We sit on the cushion and things come up. We allow them to come up. We embrace them. We honor them. And we have, you know, the third thing, focused attention, right? Open awareness, loving kindness. Loving kindness, the most important part. Can you have loving kindness towards your bad self? It's easy to have loving kindness towards your good self, but that story about you, the bad self, can you actually love and embrace that? So, 3 areas. How do I build capacity? I build capacity by sitting on the cushion. You want to build some capacity? You're ready to do a little meditation? You willing to do that? Yeah? Okay. So let's just do that, and we'll just do a short meditation, and I'll guide you, and we'll look at our physical, emotional, and mental capacity. We'll just take a little inventory and see how present we are or how not. It doesn't matter. We're just doing an inventory. So just look on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very present, 1 being completely absent, gone, on my cell phone or something, okay? So just take a second to feel your feet on the floor. Let's just allow ourselves to sit in the body. You can let your eyes go closed or soft focus downward. Just allow yourself to sit with a straight spine and notice your breath. And notice how you feel in your own skin. How does it feel to just rest in this body, this beautiful body you've been given? Many people live in an imaginary body and don't feel anything until there's pain. But can you actually feel the energy in your feet on the floor? And breathing in and dropping deeper into the body. Feeling a sense of rootedness. Feeling the air coming in through the nostrils, down through the central channel into the body. And just kind of feel through the body the flow of the energy in your body. Let's start with the feet. Can you feel the flow of energy? And go up your legs. Notice any tension, any holding, any flow. Notice any parts that might be numb, that you can't really feel. your knees and thighs and hamstrings. Just go through the body and notice. Nothing to do but bringing awareness to your body. Up through your pelvis, the back of your spine, the channel where the air comes in. Feel the internal organs. Bring your attention to your heart space. And notice if you're contracted in the front and back of your heart or if it's open and spacious. Maybe you don't feel or see anything at all. Maybe you can really feel that spaciousness within the body. And feel the shoulders just drop and the energy in the upper arms and lower arms and hands. Just taking an inventory. And the neck and the face, relax the jaw, the muscles around the eyes. And just noticing your breath. And just feeling a soft wave of energy coming down from the top of your head over your body. Just allowing it to run through your body down into the feet and the earth. Any sensations, any numbness, any pain, any tension, just notice that. Nothing to do with it. And then just let that go, sitting in your body, and notice any feelings or emotions. Are they strong? Do you feel anything? Are you numb? Just get a sense when you discover a feeling, where is it in your body? Emotions are very body-centered. Where in your body do you feel the emotions? Can you feel them? And just allowing that. Where in your body? And just breathing into that, releasing on the out breath. Having a felt sense of your emotions. And get a sense of how spacious you are with your emotions and begin to just notice the chat room. Is it quiet in that mind? Or is it busy? Are you wondering how long is this going to take? Did I turn the stove off? Or making your to-do list? Or are you actually able to just be with the thoughts? Just watching for them. Like a cat watching a mouse hole, just watching for the thoughts to arise. See how that quiets your mind. And just notice the kinds of thoughts you're having. They're probably very familiar. Just noticing. And notice if your felt sense in your body and your emotions and your mind are congruent. Are they in alignment? To create capacity to hold more by doing less, you want to find congruency. That your emotions, your feelings, your felt sense, and your mind are all in alignment. And just kind of pick an overall number as we begin to wind this down. Overall, how much space do you have mentally, physically, and emotionally? And then let yourself feel your fingers and your toes. Slowly bring yourself back into the room. And a couple deep breaths. Welcome back. So, anyone who'd like to ask a question or share or say anything about their experience? Matthew?
That was great.
That was great. Okay, good. Good. I have to come on Wednesdays and join us here. What else? What did you notice? How was that for you? Was it hard? Was it easy? What number did you find when you were looking? Could you actually feel your emotions? Could you feel your body? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah?
One thing I really experienced was I felt myself behind my face.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very unique new experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really big one. As you get into meditation, we're not going to talk about it tonight because there's not a lot of time, but the difference between form consciousness and space consciousness. Form consciousness is a consciousness that's central to yourself looking outward. Space consciousness is a whole nother thing, which I'm not going to go into, but it's really dissolving into everything, nothing. Yeah. Sorry.
I find that I look at it as a vessel, and so seeing the breath move through the vessel.
Yes. Seeing it as a vessel,
I actually see the trail as it rotates through.
Yeah.
And by focusing on that particular pattern, just being able to just allow other things to come and actually be content.
Yeah.
Around that. So it is about feeling the space.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
It's trying to visualize the space inside the body.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful. Very beautiful. Visualizing the space within the body. I'm repeating it so if you don't have mics. So yeah. What else?
I can see how if people did that every day, they would have way less stress and overwhelm in their life.
And much more time.
Much more time.
I could not do all the things, and as you guys know who know me, know I accomplish a lot in a day. I was recently called a hurricane, but I wouldn't miss my 90 minutes in the morning to meditate because that's what gives me time. You ever hear of Parkinson's law? Parkinson's law says that the task at hand will fill the time available. So Aunt Tilly might spend the entire day or two writing a letter to her niece, getting the right card, going shopping, thinking about what she wants to say, going to get stamps, then talking to the postman, and that's a day-long job. But if you're committed to something in life, you get a lot more done with less effort. And it's really important in this meditative process, which will, expand as you do it, to see, where do you put your time? This whole identity thing, I'm so busy. Yeah, really? Track your time for a week or two. What are you so busy about? How much time did you spend on social media, listening to the news, whatever, having a latte? You know, nothing wrong with any of those things, although I'd really suggest cutting back on media and news. It just, you know, adds to the craziness. Use that time to sit, yeah. So, any questions? We have Wednesday wet meditations here through mid-June that we'll be doing from noon to 1. I would love to have you join us for that. We have a workshop that we will be doing on the 4th and 5th here in this room, where we really do the practices. I'll teach you some really simple practices for pausing, for working with the breath. Marielle will teach you some Qigong and Tai Chi moves that are very simple, that to take a pause during the day and realign ourselves with the world and reshape how our world looks just by taking a little bit of time. Yeah, Zoe.
It's interesting you say that, because I think that people don't, they're so busy throughout the day, they think if they stop to just contemplate, or stop to go for a walk, or stop to do something that allows your mind to drift, that they're wasting time.
Yes, people think, I'm going to say it again, people think that taking a walk or allowing your mind to drift or watching the waves is wasting your time. Actually, that may be some of the most productive time you can possibly do, because you're stilling the mind. You're allowing that, the very thing I'm talking about, the open awareness. Again, those 3 things are really important. Focused attention, open awareness, and loving kindness. If you just work with those 3 things and sit, doesn't matter how long, start with 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, just sit in those 3 things, you will find you'll have amazing transformations in your life. It's a discipline, it's a practice. You don't go to the gym one day and you work out, really have a great workout, you know, and go home, okay, I'm buff now, I'm on it. Glad I don't have to do that again. That was horrible. It's the same with meditation, right? You know, we sit. Yeah, Mike.
It's a total random one, but just imagine you're like a professional athlete, right? And then you're training for like 4 hours a day or whatever it is. Tomorrow you're playing in the Stanley Cup Finals. Do you think the coach is gonna bag skate you all day so you can show up rested, unrelaxed, stressed out for your day? It's not gonna happen, right? But most people just think that because job lasts like 8 hours, right? You know how much time there is in 8 hours? It's like mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Actually slow down a second.
Infinity.
Yeah.
Infinity. Infinity actually means no time. When you're in no time, you're really present. And there's a huge expanse available. That's where, you know, the things that stress costs in the workplace and in life, right? Creativity, focus, productivity, clean relationships without conflict. You know, there's thousands of things you could say. The 6 number 1 killers in the world are all stress related. From suicide to cardiovascular to, I don't remember all 6, but the 6 top killers in North America are all stress related. All of them, every single one. Meditate, you won't die as soon. It's a good bumper sticker.
It's funny how you talk about, I had a colleague who was a marketing executive. And he would often tell the story of how he'd be sitting in his office with his feet on his desk, and the CEO would walk by and he'd go, "Great, you're not doing anything." "I'm thinking." "Well, you're not doing what? Go do something." "Oh, no, I'm thinking. I'm being productive."
Right.
And that always stuck in my mind about how it was just that when you said about creativity, that gets triggered by the absence of doing anything.
Yeah.
Because it allows those creative thoughts to consume the space. It's an anecdote that I just kind of felt. I didn't understand it at first, but over time, I found it's exactly what you're saying.
Creativity and productivity needs space. This whole process that I'm talking about is about creating inner spacious and outer spacious, both in my relationships and within ourselves. You know, in our relationship, you know, Marielle and I, how long is the longest conflict we've ever had? You know, 5 minutes, you know, because there's no time for conflict in our life. You know, we resolve it. Whatever it is that needs to be handled in a relationship, you sit and you figure out what it is and you take responsibility of it and you handle it. And I'm always amazed to hear couples that are constantly fighting. What's the point? You know, you don't need to do that. So let's see, is there anything else anybody wants to ask or say? There's no worse death than being talked to death. So I want to make sure that you get questions answered. Yeah, Reed.
I don't know what Joy was saying. You mentioned one of the comments you said that stuck with me was sit on the pillow first and action.
Mm-hmm.
So as I met you earlier tonight, I mentioned I'm trying to get more into meditation.
Yes.
For me, it's more like all my stuff's done during the day after I do my to-do list. I got time at night, and I'll try to do it.
Uh-huh.
What usually happens is I fall asleep.
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes.
Yeah. So that's a really good point. I want to talk to it, and I'll kind of rephrase it a little bit. So when's the best time to meditate? Best time to meditate is now. Always, because it's always now when you're meditating. Most people find that it's best to meditate in the morning. You know, I'm up at 5 and meditating every morning. That's when I do it. It's also good to meditate short meditations before bed. But we often try to do it at the time when we're most tired and most worn out. So you really have to schedule it. You have to find a time that works for your rhythm. There are people who are night owls that actually it's a great time for them. So listen to your heart. Your heart's your primary rhythm. What does your heart say is the best time to meditate? And really listen. I could do a whole hour on the heart, but I think we're running out of time, aren't we? So I just want to say, if you want more, if you're listening in from Afghanistan or Moscow or whatever, listen to my radio show on welloflight.com. I have 15 years of some of the greatest minds in the world in environmental, social justice, and spiritual authors. Well of Light, WELLOFLIGH.com. And then for our business practices and organizational work, quantumconsultinggroup.org. Quantum Consulting Group, all one word, .org. You can find out more. There's videos, and there's every month we have global calls with thousands of people on them. So just join in. You're welcome, and write us and get the monthly newsletter so you find out who's doing what. Okay? Thank you so much for your time. Go forth and sit.
Michael, on behalf of the VBN, that was wonderfully different.
Thank you.
Who would have thought a talk about meditation could have business relevance? But you made
Total
it
business
so
relevance,
totally
yeah.
businessly relevant.
Yeah.
And tell us, thank you very much for
Thank you,
making this
Telus.
recording possible.
And let's just take a pause now. Just a centering pause for like 10 seconds. Take a breath, drop into your body, and just give yourself some love.